I'm Matt Reynolds, and this is my podcast. Dave Porter, thanks for stopping in.
No worries, mate.
Now tell me, you're at a barbecue, you meet someone for the first time, they're going to ask you, what do you do? What do you tell them? Give us an overview on PorterVac.
Yeah, always an interesting question. I work for myself. I run a business called PorterVac. So PorterVac is a vacuum gutter cleaning and roofing specialist. So we run a fleet of the vacuum gutter cleaning trucks, as well as very active in the roof repairs and restoration side of things as well. So basically a roof maintenance business is what we run.
Maintenance business. And you work Australia-wide, so it's a pretty sizable operation?
Yeah. Look, predominantly, Melbourne's our biggest branch. That's where we started. We've also got Sydney and Queensland as two smaller branches. We're Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland at the moment. So yeah.
Cleaning gutters. So tell me, you built this, I know, from scratch. So tell me about the moment you decided you'd take the plunge.
Yeah, so look, I go back, must have been sort of 7 or 8 years ago. I was a roof tiler running quite a sizable, just sort of subcontracting business. We had a few of our own builders and so on and so forth. We had a really good name for ourselves doing re-roofs, like the 45, 50 degree re-roofs, sort of, in and around Brighton and so on and so forth, where the salt gets on the terracotta tiles and rots them all out. So look, I had a really good name for myself as being able to do the jobs that nobody else could do in the roof tiling industry.
So you're talking about complicated roofs in terms of like pitches, dangles and that sort of thing, high stuff.
Yeah.
Is what we're talking
about.
Look,
I really enjoyed it. It was the stuff that, most roof tilers, sort of just wanted to do the easier ones, the estate work and so on and so forth, whereas I really loved the challenge. But look, in saying that, it just wasn't enough. I got to a stage where, look, I just hated it. I hated my job. It got to a stage where, the least motivated person on the job site was me, and I was the boss. Had 5, 6, 7 guys out there underneath me, and I was the least motivated person. So, look, I realised something had to change. I came across this vacuum gutter cleaning idea, and basically, off the back of that, sort of, my wife sort of talks about it as a, it's like a little mini male meltdown. I sacked everybody. I remortgaged the house. I bought myself a new truck, one of these vacuum gutter cleaning machines. I financed my first 12 months of advertising and marketing, and so my wife's pregnant with our second child, and I've gone and remortgaged the house and taken off on a tangent. So it was pretty stressful at the time, very, very stressful actually. So I
could imagine. How popular were you at home in that period?
Look, my wife had I got a huge amount of support from home, from my wife. So look, she trusted what I was doing, but it was definitely a worrying time, because obviously she wasn't in a position to help out if things went bad, and being pregnant with our second child, and obviously had the first one at home still as well. So, look, it was high stress, but I pulled it off. I was very confident with what I was doing. I knew there was a market there for it.
What told you that? Like, how did you know that? Was that through your work as a roof tiler that you constantly saw gutters blocked? Like, was there a really practical element to that, or was it because a lot of the entrepreneurs that I talk to, you think on the surface, like, remortgage the home, second child on the way, like it's an extremely risky thing. But then when you actually see how they've thought through the process and how they've got to that point, a lot of the time it's not really as risky as what, sort of like the headline could say. So was there any, like you said, there was a market there. How did you work out, or what was your inkling that the market was there?
Look, it just felt right to me. I just, I did my majority of my roof tiling was done sort of, as I said before, in and around the re-roofing, in predominantly the richer sort of areas in Melbourne. I was also really involved in the, so the match existing of, extensions and stuff like that.
Which is challenging at times.
Which is, very challenging. So, look, I suppose just understanding these people, very house proud, extremely time poor, living underneath gum trees and oak trees and all the rest of it. So look, the business made sense to me, but unfortunately, like back then, my peers and sort of the people I hung around with, like, completely didn't get the so any research I did, I was asking my tradie mates, would you pay someone to clean your gutters out? And everyone's like, no way. Like, I wouldn't do. So all my research that I was able to do, with my mates and my current circle at the time, sort of definitely steered towards a no. But I don't know. I just sort of really backed myself in my experience as a roof tiler, I suppose, and
to give it a go.
Yeah, just to give it a go. So
you head out there. Day one, you've just got the one truck, you're by yourself at this point.
Yes.
Right? I want to sort of talk a little bit through how you've built the business, because now you're at a 30 plus and expanding pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
Employee sort of level, right up and down the eastern seaboard of Australia, and looking at other options. So you head out day one. How long did it take before you started looking for that next first employee after just getting rid of all your previous ones?
Look, I often make reference to this. Like, in business, I learnt everything the hard way. I'm really guilty of being that tradesman that knows everything. Like, it's quite hard in the trade where, look, I believe that coming up as an apprentice, and then even as you become qualified, you become really thick-skinned as a tradesman. You're sort of defending your work all the time. You're never wrong. From a roof tiler's point of view, it's always the plumber's fault, or the builder didn't build it straight, or, so on and so forth. So I built myself up, very strong, and I never did anything wrong because I was very good at my trade.
Yep.
It was always everyone else's fault. And unfortunately, I took those same lessons into business.
Yep.
Where I knew everything. I was the best, I was the greatest, and I wasn't. I'm happy to now admit, in reflection, I wasn't. So I took that same arrogance all the way across with me. So, in answer to your question, when did I decide to get that first employee? Like, it was a really hard lesson for me to learn. Like, I was sort of so fixated on being really, really busy myself, making sure I had heaps of work for myself. So what I did was, initially I started out just with a subcontractor. I had a mate of mine who was, sort of in and out of work he was actually living in a chuka that wasn't working out so well for him.
Yeah.
And what he would do, I could call him the day, but the week before I'd organise 2 or 3 days, and he'd come down, he'd do the 2 or 3 days here, and then he'd go back to do a couple of days in a chuka. Like, it was a win-win for both of us. I'd pay him a percentage of what he was earning, and look, that was sort of my step. We went along doing that for maybe 12 months or more. Mm-hmm. So keep in mind, I'm an extremely inexperienced businessman at this stage.
Yeah.
Like, extremely. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Thought it was all about being busy.
Yeah.
It was, or keeping myself busy. So he'd come down. Look, and I suppose that the actual changing moment is when he said to me, like, I had the flexibility. I could use him, 2 days, or I could use him 5 days sometimes. I could not use him at all.
Yep.
So that was really good for me. But I suppose the actual challenge came when he came to me and said, look, I'm moving to Darwin, so I can't work for you at all anymore.
Yeah, right. That's a long way to drive each week. Yeah.
So I was, absolutely forced into the next stage, which was, getting the first employee. Lucky for me, the first employee came along and he was an absolute superstar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just
struck gold.
Hit gold right on the first one. So, along the way, like, there's been a lot of luck too. I often wonder, like, I wonder if that first employee had been a dud. I wonder if I would have kept learning about business and kept persisting with it. But, I struck gold and he was really good. So were the next couple that came along too, were really good too. So.
And when did you realise you were onto a good thing? Because a lot of trade businesses they get a couple of guys on or girls on, and then they sort of really plateau for a while. Whereas you've progressed pretty consistently through the years. Is that right?
Do you know that the absolute changing moment for me was when I said to myself, I don't know everything. That was an absolute line in the sand, and I discovered personal growth, I suppose you'd say, like, listening to, podcasts, I suppose, but, listening to motivational speakers, and I suppose just listening to people who had done it, came up with the idea that I need to start getting some professional help in this area.
Right.
So literally it was a massive line in the sand. When I reflect on it, when I dropped the Dave that knows everything, that's always defensive and, won't listen, won't let anybody out in. When I dropped that, you can put the profit and loss next to it, and you can see it. You can see it.
Yeah, right. That's interesting, isn't it?
So obviously I started engaging, business coaching, and I started going to events. I started talking to people. I started becoming a massive believer, of the. Someone said it to me years ago, you're an average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Oh yeah, yep.
I remember sitting down working that out. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's easy. You just got to hang out with rich people. You just got to change that somehow. So,
yeah.
So that was, go back to it. Yeah, complete changing moment when I started engaging help, I suppose.
Okay.
And that's probably, and it was through that help that I started realizing, hey, maybe I am onto something.
Okay.
It's every tradie's, it's every tradie's dream. Like my thing was I wanted to get myself off the tools, and I saw this as an avenue to do it.
Yep.
Obviously roof tiler from, sort of 15, 16 years old. I probably would have been sort of 26, 27. And, the body, I was starting, I've had really serious back pain from about sort of 22, 23. So I was really conscious that I had to turn it into something too.
Yeah.
Either that or get a career change. But yeah, roofing always paid really well.
Okay. So you got the help, and then you changed your attitude, which is obviously a big thing, but it's a really big thing in the trade sort of sector, because when you start off on the tools that first day as a roof tiler, your goal is, as you said, to get off the tools, right? You've made it if you're off the tools.
Yeah.
And that's everyone's goal, really, I think, from the start to some degree. So you started getting the help, you changed your attitude, and then did the business just pick up from there?
Look, getting the help.
Yes.
Some of the first things that were set up was what did I want out of the business?
So back
what did I So I suppose bring it back to me and my life. What did I want? I'm an extremely materialistic person. Cars and boats and properties and you name it. It's all up there in my head. That's. And anybody that works with me will back me on that.
Yeah.
So, I had some really big wants from the business and from my life. So that was a big helper. But so I suppose we drew it out, what did I want from the business from a personal and lifestyle?
Yes.
What did what was I doing in the business? What did I want to be doing in the business? And it's a really interesting exercise, and so many, sort of business coaches and, and alike will sort of start the first, that first meeting with the same. And it's literally sort of setting up I've found it's setting up a vision
Yes.
of what it looks like and what you want.
Yep.
Then literally just working it back. And holding yourself accountable to finding a way of holding yourself accountable. It's, for me, it's been professional help.
And and making sure that what you're doing on a day-to-day basis reconciles with where you
with your long-term goal. Yeah.
Which is sounds very simple and basic, but it's amazing how many times we can catch ourselves, right, and they can be a little bit off course, right?
Yeah. You sort of. And still, even today, I haven't got it worked out by any means. I'll happily admit that. You get caught up in the day-to-day, and obviously, it just, I suppose it takes that sort of every month, that reflection of, hey, what did I do last month? Is that aligned with the goal? Is it, could I have used my time better? And I regularly, I would say every month, I get to the end of the month and absolutely, I shouldn't have done this, I should have done that, I suppose being aware of it each month, then nearly setting the goal for the next month.
So you can course correct along the way, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
So you keep growing. You've got let's fast forward a little bit to sort of where you are now. Can you talk a little bit about the size and roles within your business now?
Yeah.
Because 30 plus people running around all over the country, it's not just a matter of adding numbers, is it? You've got to fill key positions and they've got to be the right people and all that sort of stuff. So how have you gone about getting those people?
consistently that's the hardest game, is the people game. That's my biggest struggle, getting the right people into the right positions. And anybody who thinks they've got that mastered, I'd love to talk to them.
That's why I called you in. You're not the right guy.
Look, I don't think I'm too bad at it, but I definitely haven't got it mastered. Look, I suppose it's sort of in tying with your last question you asked too. Like I recognise my strengths.
Okay.
I recognise my weaknesses as well, and I'm happy to tell everybody about them.
Yeah.
I'm no longer not proud about. I'm actually proud to tell people my weaknesses. Like it's totally fine. I'm a hopeless bookkeeper. I write terrible emails. My spelling's not great. Like but as far as the hands-on like operations, like how do these machines work, and how are our employees feeling, and do they like working for us? I'm a real people hands-on person. So it's been, as the business has got bigger and bigger, I've obviously focused more and more on my strengths and what I'm good at.
Yeah.
I've put people in behind me I've got an amazing general manager. Braden, he literally anything, computers and technology and, creating a system that, the schedulers put all the jobs into the systems, and it goes out to the guys, and I suppose systemizing that part of the business, like that's been really, really fundamental. He's been a great hire. Braden actually started out for me as a roof tiler, cleaning gutters.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, full disclosure, I know Braden. I've spent a little bit of time, around your business and that now, and I didn't realise that he started off as a roof tiler. Wow, there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a classic example of just recognising talent, and creating the opportunity. Now, I take note, like he totally owned that as well. Like the right person will.
Yes.
Sort of. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make a drink, sort of thing. So I do that a lot, like sort of try and motivate people, like, employees that come through, you sort of show them the plan and the vision. And I say it regularly, like whilst I started this business sort of 7-8 years ago, and I got it to a point, like what's got it to here, it hasn't been me. It's been a real combined effort of a really core management crew who have stepped up to the plate. So we haven't employed experienced general managers or experienced we've just sort of learnt as we've gone along, and we've all grown together.
So you've basically brought employees within your business through to those senior management positions.
Yeah.
Does that come with a fair bit of satisfaction to see them grow? Because it's a big step. To use Braden as an example, to come off the roof tilers and onto implementing all the systems that you talked about. So do you get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing, young men grow through that period of their lives?
Like that's a classic one, that one. But even a lot of these guys, like I employ roof tilers, and traditionally roof tilers, they haven't been all that well looked after. It's traditionally a subcontracting arrangement out there. It's only got to look like raining, and they get told to stay at home, and their super hasn't been paid, and they've been using their own vehicle, and they've bought materials and haven't been paid back for it, and it's pretty rough out. It's pretty rough, and not in all situations, don't get me wrong, but as a whole, it's pretty rough out there. So look, it's been great to bring a lot of those guys through. That are used to it being pretty rough. Pay them a wage. All of a sudden, they've got to get used to a wage which sometimes they think is less than what they were getting as a subcontractor, even though it's actually a lot more, because I'm putting their tax away and their super away and all the rest of it. And look, it's been really inspiring to watch sort of 2-3 years after that, hey, hang on a minute, like these guys their missuses are starting to recognise that this guy's a bit of a success, and they're buying a house, they're having having a baby, having first children, and all the rest of it, and they're doing that off the back of the opportunity that's been presented here. Like I've presented the opportunity, and they've absolutely taken it. These are really good quality guys, and they're working really hard. But it's very inspiring to watch. You just said sort of watching boys become men.
Yeah, well, it's a critical period in people's lives, right? That early 20s. And if you're starting off as a roof tiler, you're probably in that age bracket, right? Because you've got to be physically healthy and fit and all that sort of stuff. And I think you were going to allude to before that once you reach the sort of end of your 20s, you maybe wake up sore the next day and all that sort of stuff. And steep roofs and that. I mean, if you haven't spent a day on a 30-degree pitch or even a 20-degree pitch, 22-degree pitch, like it hurts, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't do it forever. And I know for myself that when I recognised in my own business that to invest in those people through that period, and you almost got to, well, for me, I'm not talking for you, but for me, it's almost like the quicker you can train them and get them out, if they choose to go that way, the more that everyone gets benefit. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Rather than this mentality of trying to almost keep them, like hold on to people. You want to invest rather than stifle that growth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's I think that's what you just said there. That's a key word, is invest.
Yep.
Like investing in them, like part of what my journey was through the professional help and all the rest of it, like business coaching and the like I do that for my people too.
Yes.
Getting them in front of great people to listen to, or I suppose even just inspiring them with books they should read or people they should listen to. It's once again they've got to grab it, they've got to own it, and it's not for everybody. Like not everybody's gonna, some people just want to go to work every day, and that's fine. I've got so many I've got so much that needs to be done. If the guys just want to go to work every day and just do their job and do a really good job, that's awesome. Like there's, not everyone's going to be the manager or the owner or the so on and so forth. So there's equally, I place equally as much importance on those sort of minor roles as I do in the management roles as well. So
they're all vital to keep the overall wheel turning and accelerating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit before we started. You've expanded interstate, we've said a couple of times, but you've found some real differences between the Melbourne market and, for example, going into Sydney.
Yeah. And
can we talk a little bit through that? Because you thought initially you were going to pick up your business and just and put it in Sydney, but it hasn't quite worked out that way. Do you want to maybe talk through a little bit about that?
Look, I suppose that's the thing about me. Like I'm happily admit my mistakes these days. So look, we running quite a sizable business in Melbourne, which I feel quite successfully.
Yes.
And the next most natural step was to take it to Sydney. We sort of arrogantly sort of said we're so good here, well, let's go take it up there. So we've learnt so much up there. Like Sydney's very, very different to Melbourne. The traffic is just, oh my gosh, like
yeah.
So yeah. But look, ultimately the undoing of Sydney's has been around the people and the relationships that we hold, with those core people. Employing people in Sydney is very, very different to employing people in Melbourne. They just don't seem to be around. They don't seem to be there in Sydney.
Oh, so there's no one to employ.
There's no one to employ.
Right.
So look, we're in Sydney for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And look, we're still there.
Yep.
But we've had to change the model. We thought we were just gonna, build the business we've got in Melbourne was going to be exactly the same in Sydney. It's just not going to be. We've had to totally, rejig our ideas and what we're going to do. So in Sydney now, like we've just changed it in the last 6 months. We're like, well, we can't seem to get the people there. So what we're going to do is just almost run a smaller business. So we recognise that the more profitable part of the business is around our sort of body corporate work, our one-to-many customers, I suppose you'd call it.
Yes.
So, we're just going to mainly focus on, body corporate, real estate, aged care facilities, and, like anything that sort of works inside, so your property managers, I suppose.
So the people that are giving out sort of like points of influence is probably the wrong word, but people who are giving out a lot of work through the one channel.
Through
you
the
want
one
to service
channel.
them.
Sort of one to many is obviously what we call it.
Yep.
Keeping in mind that's what drew us to Sydney in the first place, was off the back of some really good relationships that we had here in Melbourne, that we're doing a lot of work for. Obviously, sort of asked the question, would you be interested in doing Sydney and obviously Queensland as well?
Yep.
So yeah, we've obviously, off the back of those relationships, that's what drew us to Sydney and Queensland in the first place, and probably drew us to Adelaide as well.
Yeah.
Is those sort of customers, sort of repeat work. It's not as, domestic market's sort of quite reactional, I suppose. So, there's a big storm hits and all of a sudden you've got mates you didn't even know you had.
It doesn't happen in the roof tiling business too, does it?
Yeah, so it's... So look, we've learned a lot, and we've just come to the conclusion that, more of a smaller, I suppose, sort of boutique idea, for a certain type of market, that's more predictable, more, and look, it's with a certain amount of, that was a fair ego hit. I've been trying for 2.5 years to do it in Melbourne, to do this, to do it in Sydney, and we've had to really, really sort of almost scale it down a bit.
Okay.
Ultimately, until we find the right people to gear it up. I do actually think that eventually the business in Sydney will be as big as the Melbourne business, but not until we find those right core guys for Sydney. In saying that, I'm in Queensland, we have that. We have those core guys. Hence the reason, and anybody I sort of talk to says that Sydney's completely different and isn't surprised by the fact that I've really struggled in Sydney. I haven't struggled at all in Queensland. We've been able to hire, got good people, and it's just totally different market. It's like a different country.
So would you go about it a different way? So you sort of went there and then had to get the work and find the people in Sydney. So would you do it differently next time? Would you just wait until you found those key people and then go in off the back of them?
Yeah, I'll wait till I find the key people.
Okay.
And that's ultimately what we're waiting for in Sydney is is for the key people to show up, I suppose, and then obviously we'll invest and probably gear up again. So look, currently it's been really interesting. We still have a great business in Sydney.
Yes,
it's just different than it's just different than what it is in Melbourne.
So one of the things that you've done a few times now is actually, which is normally aligns to much bigger companies, but you've acquired smaller businesses along the way in the same line of work, this vacuum gutter cleaning. So why did you do that? And how have you been able to do it successfully? Because that doesn't happen an awful lot with smaller trade businesses.
Yeah. Look, it wasn't something I was actively looking for.
Okay.
On the same token, I wasn't not looking for it either. Look, the opportunities have just sort of presented themselves, and I think that's part of, it's almost like recognition, I suppose, of getting the business to a certain size and what it looks like to outsiders and so on and so forth. But it's I suppose it's been good. It's probably just been around the opportunity.
Yeah.
The opportunities have presented themselves. They've looked really good, and we've gone for them.
Okay.
So
it wasn't that wasn't a sort of like a strategy that you had to build your business. It was more an opportunity that's come up a few times, and it's just worked out to
it's just made sense.
Yeah. Okay.
For the money out versus money back in, and sort of even picking up assets like sort of being utes and these gutter cleaning machines and customers and so on and so forth. It's just really made sense. I mean, obviously the one that we were speaking about earlier, we actually, obviously it's the relationship between me and you. Is obviously we have a friend in common, Russell, and so Russell actually was running his own business, one man show, very very good at extremely good at what he was doing, and had a business more around the commercial. Body corporate, one-to-many customers. So me and Russell obviously got together, and this has been the one that's probably worked out the best. Russell's run a great business, but it wasn't delivering for him what he needed to deliver.
Yep.
He wasn't sort of going to go out and make a massive business himself. So obviously, we did a deal, combined the two businesses together. He obviously combined his business with our bigger business. Russell actually works for us full time now as a business to business salesman. That's been still to this day has been it's been a real win-win situation. Me and him regularly talk, try and sort of talk every month or so about the about it, what it looks like, and make sure it's sort of feeding both of us and what we both need. So that's worked really, really well. We've been able to sort of he's obviously come off the tools completely and is working full time with what I think is his number one strength, and that's it's obviously in sales and relationships and business to business.
So for you personally, what's your biggest challenge at the moment?
People. Yeah.
Just finding them.
Yeah, just finding the right people. Yes.
Do you find that do you have this mentality that you'll always have the work as long as you can find the people to service it? Like, is there a shortage out there?
I'm a massive believer that if you have the people, the work will show up.
Okay. It's always gone that way?
I suppose sort of... It has, yeah. We don't get me wrong, we don't just... we don't look at the moon and get that or anything like that. We have a marketing team and we have... we do everything we can. Generally just continuing to build that team. I mean, I got to a stage where I literally am advertising, 365 days a year these days. For good talent. Like if I might not even need somebody, but if somebody amazing walks through the door, they'll be working for PorterVac tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that.
Seize the opportunity.
I'll just cop that as an expense until I plug them into the right positions.
Yeah. Okay. So it's that critical and hard to find the people that you'll take that risk from time to time because you take a much more longer term view than the next week on it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you said marketing. Are we talking? Are you big tech? Are you big online? Are we talking Google AdWords, that sort of thing, or do you have the traditional routes as well? How does that sort of, in a general sense, play out?
Yeah. Look, I mean, the way forward is website, and, SEO, AdWords. We spend a huge amount of money on marketing through that channel.
Yes.
Look, we also find that the just the local paper works well.
Yeah.
Doesn't work as well as it used to, and obviously I can see that the web's going to take over that side. Eventually the local paper will probably get phased out, I imagine.
Yes. So, a lot of magazines publications have certainly gone that way, right? So it's hard to mount a case against that. It's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah, you've only got to feel how skinny the thing is these days to what it used to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. I picked up a newspaper for the first time in a long time the other day, and it was only like 50 pages thick. I was like, where's the second half of it? Like it's all gone. So times are changing. That's for sure. Do you feel? Do you ever struggle with this concept of constantly being in uncharted waters in terms of growing? Because yesterday you did something you probably had to deal with the day before, and tomorrow will be the exact same situation again. So is that something you've had to learn to get comfortable with in terms of the business you'll run next week, right, is going to be bigger than what you ran last month, which comes with a new set of skill sets and all that sort of stuff, I'm assuming. So is that something, are you comfortable with the growth now? Is it have you slid into that sort of area where you're comfortable being uncomfortable from that point of view?
I've always loved being uncomfortable.
Oh, so you actually like that feeling?
Yeah, I like that feeling. I like people pointing out my flaws. What started out in my career as refusing to hear any of it now is just a complete opposite these days. Yeah. I really thrive on it. I suppose that's one of the things with being the boss is not everyone's all that quick to point out your flaws. So you get onto someone that's being honest with you, like I'll literally yell. I'll spend all day with them, Look, something I say regularly, this week, this is the biggest business I've ever run.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to.
Yeah, in a month from now, that'll be the biggest business I've ever run. Month after that, you can keep saying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm not a sort of a proud person or anything, I don't sort of float my own boat ever and just sort of tell everyone about how I've got it all down pat. Man, I don't.
You don't, yeah.
I do not have it all down pat. I'm when they say fake it till you make it, it's
yeah, no, that's why I asked about being uncomfortable, because most business owners that are in that same sort of like bucket, right? You've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to grow, because a lot of people they struggle with not knowing, right? Yeah. Whereas you've got to get to that point where, I mean, you don't have a paycheck coming in next week. Sure, you've got clients lined up, but you still take it upon yourself to go out there, perform a service with the right people, to make sure you collect the right amount of money, to pay all your expenses. Like, that's a big responsibility for some people to appreciate, to take on. So to become comfortable with that, it's sort of like it's an essential thing.
Shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
But look, I suppose one thing I, continue to do, and have got better at this over the years, and probably realised more of an importance on it, is surrounding myself with people in the same, that have got the same struggles, that are understanding it. Like, this isn't, I suppose it's not like a discussion, you can just have with anybody.
Yes.
The struggles of business. Like, I wouldn't sit down and, like, whilst I've got nothing against my employees or your family or whatever, like, I get on with all of them really, really well. But like, to have that in-depth conversation with the fact that, you might be owed $100,000, or you might, you're worried about your tax position, or, do you know what I mean? To have that conversation with somebody that's like an employee, someone just on wages, is, they'll sort of, they almost panic for you.
Yeah, and they probably can't, I suppose, in a lot of ways appreciate it, because they haven't been there. So, because you're involved in a couple of organisations, have I got that right? In entrepreneurs organisations?
Yeah, so I joined EO, the Entrepreneurs Organisation, which has been, that's been really, really good.
Okay.
That's been just to sort of surround myself with as many other people in the same boat.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what business they're in. Just the problems are all very similar.
Yeah.
And a lot of the business, like, there's sort of like, there's cut-offs for like revenue cut-offs, so that you haven't got startups or anything like that in there. Nothing against startups. Like,
yes.
I've obviously won once.
Yeah.
But, so there's quite, generally speaking, quite substantial businesses in there.
Right.
And all going through the pains of business. So very easy to learn off other people's mistakes than to go out there and make the mistake yourself. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm drawing from this EO network. Is,
So where's all this going? The business, you're still growing at a rapid pace. Have you got a sort of is there a star on the horizon you're shooting for, or where does this end?
Well, look, the goal was always to build a national business.
Okay.
Stopped being about money a long time ago.
Yep.
But that's the goal, is to build a national business.
Okay, and have a national brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything that you do outside of work that you think allows you to perform your best inside of work? Are you, in terms of exercise, diet, anything, avid golfer? What do you do for relief?
Well, a couple of things. Look, fitness is a whilst I don't do enough of it, I could definitely do more. But fitness has been I think when I spoke about, changing my mindset and my, getting professional help and all the rest of it, like, that was a big turning point there. Like, I was a big boy back then.
Yeah.
And starting to become fitter and recognising the importance of the body being fit was a big mind change as well.
Yeah.
Obviously not as focused on it as I'd like to be, but I do place a huge importance on that. Look, the other thing that's really great, like, I have an amazing support at home too.
Yeah. It's funny how often this comes up too.
I think that is so crucial, that it's good, both husband and wife have got to buy into it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm obsessed. There's no other word for it. I'm absolutely obsessed. It's like a drug, just about.
With the business.
With the business, yeah.
Yeah. And is your wife involved in the business at all on a day-to-day basis?
No.
So you're totally separate?
Totally separate. We learnt that years ago. We're an amazing husband and wife.
Yeah.
Absolutely hopeless business partners. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So completely. My wife is at home with our 3 kids.
Yep.
And she runs her own sort of personal training business.
Okay.
Just sort of part time around the kids, which works really, really well for her. But obviously you got to, you've been there. Sometimes you get home from work and you've got you will bring the troubles of work home.
Well, yeah, I think
it's something we all try not to do, but we do. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes you can't, it's very hard not to, as you say. And I think that when you work with your partner, that you've really got to set up those kind of boundaries, right? Because otherwise, we all get sucked into the day to day, and this person, that person owed money, and owed this and that's going on, and to both be stuck in that can be not the ideal place to be a lot of the time. So anyone who figures that out, I tip my hat to you, because it's a difficult thing,
Well,
So,
I mean, I learned it early. Like traditionally, the tradie always goes off and does the work, and then the wife does the invoicing and the bookkeeping and all the rest of it. And look, my wife obviously, in the early days used to do that in the early days of the roof tiling. But look, obviously, as it started scaling, my wife's qualification is a teacher.
Yes.
He's not a personal trainer, but he's definitely not a she's definitely not a bookkeeper. So as I started scaling it and just couldn't understand why she wasn't getting it, and then look, once I actually put a bookkeeper in place, I'm like, oh right, that's the right person in the right job, I suppose.
You mentioned a bit of personal development and stuff that you've got involved in. Have you got if you've got a sort of a favourite that you like listening to or reading about, or have you got any sort of recommendations in that space?
Oh, it's changing all the time. Always changing.
Yeah.
My advice is just I'm always on something.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's the classics, and I'm sure most people would have done them. But when I look back at, changing moment, like the E-Myth to me was like, that was an absolute deal changer. I swear my life changed after hearing that. I'd never heard it put like that.
Yeah.
But I'm. That's obviously a classic one. A lot of people got a lot from that. But look, I'm always on something.
Are you like an avid reader?
No, I don't read.
You don't read at all?
I don't read. I listen.
Listen, okay.
I'm really guilty of leaving school in year 10. The rest was optional, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Hence my reading's not up to scratch. My spelling's not up to scratch. But as I said, I just work within my strengths. I've always got an audio going. I've been really into it at the moment. Is it Grant Cardone? Cardone, I think.
Oh okay.
I've been really into that lately.
Yeah.
Ever changing. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it's just that constant learning and keeping
I've always got something I'm listening to. I suppose running the business between 3 states as well. I do obviously a bit of time either on the road or in the plane. So it's always good to, organise it the day before. Right, you're spending 2.5 hours in a plane tomorrow. What are you going to listen to? So I'll make sure I've got it downloaded and ready to go. So
no, that's
effective
awesome.
Use of time, I suppose.
Just a couple of you got to make the most of it, right? A couple more questions, Dave, and we'll wrap it up. But question that I do ask everyone: if you could have one law changed or implemented, what would it be?
Yeah, you sort of pre-warned me on this one, which I was.
I
sort of really struggled on this one. Look, the only one I suppose is a frustrating law is the demerit points for the demerit points. I mean, I do a huge amount of Ks, massive amount of Ks. It's not unusual for me to be on the road 3-4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Just makes no sense to me why I have the same amount of demerit points that my wife does, who drives. She does the school run. She might drive to the shops, so she'd be lucky to do 10 minutes a day. So as you can probably alluded, a little bit of a problem for me at the moment, especially at the moment. But it'd be great to change that one. Maybe I could get I do double the amount of Ks. Maybe I could get double the amount of demerit points or something like that. That'd be a good one.
There's an interesting angle. Now, if someone wants to get in touch with you or PorterVac, what's the best place? How do you go about it?
Best. Just Google PorterVac is probably
comes up.
Should come up. Obviously that's PorterVac.
PorterVac.com.au, I think is the website.
www.portervac.com.au. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, Dave. Is there anything you want to add, mate, before we wrap this up?
No. I think we've covered up on a fair bit, but look, I'm extremely open to any questions or anything's got of me. Got any questions or anything? So yeah,
cool. Well, cheers, mate. Thanks for carving out a little bit of your day to stop in and and do this. I've been watching your business from afar for a little while now, and I know that you're growing and you're acquiring things and you're building and all that sort of stuff, and it's great to watch you do that and go through that journey, and it's an inspiring one, because the size of the business the size of the business that you now have is it takes a lot of skill, and and it can be an extremely complicated one a lot of the time as well. So hats off to you, mate, and thanks for stopping in. Cheers.
No worries at all. Thanks, mate. See ya.